All right. Good evening, friends. Welcome to the episode 23 of the Career Shifts podcast. I am your host, Gopal, and I'm thrilled to have you all with us here today. For those tuning in for the first time, Career Shifts is a podcast dedicated to unravel the inspiring journeys of individuals who have navigated big transitions, overcoming challenges, embracing new paths, with purpose and grit. And for our regular listeners, you know the depth and the impact of these stories. And today you're in for something truly special. Today is Children's Day in India. On Children's Day, my fondest memories are of those fun school activities and, of course, those sweets we eagerly would wait at the end of the celebration. But as much as it is a day for kids, it's also a gentle reminder for all of us to reconnect with the magic of our own inner child, the part of us that held limitless curiosity, pure joy, and fearless spirit. As adults, we often lose touch with those qualities, buried beneath responsibilities and routines. But why should we keep that inner child alive? A question that many of us keep asking ourselves. Here are three powerful reasons. One, curiosity fuels growth. Remember, asking why to everything around us. That's what we did as we were kids. That curiosity once made the world playground of endless discovery. Today, the same spirit can lead us to new ideas, open us to new different perspectives, and make life ever evolving journey. Living fully in the moment. Kids live completely in the now. They don't dwell in yesterday or worry about tomorrow. Imagine how the feeling it would be that each moment to savor a laugh, meal, or a quiet moment without a usual distraction. I know it's very tough given the world that we are living in with WhatsApps and the whole mobile distractions that we are talking about. Fearless playfulness. Kids don't care if they look silly, make mistakes, they play for the joy of it. By embracing the playfulness, we allow ourselves to try new things, to let go of self judgment, and to celebrate life with a little bit more abandon. Keeping the inner child alive doesn't mean avoiding our responsibilities. It means weaving joy, curiosity, and a sense of wonder into everything. So let's promise ourselves to look at life with a fresh pair of eyes, to find joy in small moments, and believe in our ability to keep growing. Here's to keeping the inner child alive and thriving. And speaking of boundless energy and resilience, I'm excited to introduce our guest today, a woman who embodies that spirit in all that she does. On this special occasion of Children's Day, we are honored to welcome Yasmeen Shaikh to the Career Shifts podcast. Yasmin isn't an extraordinary HR leader alone. She's the first Indian woman to clinch the women's single 45 plus title at the prestigious All England Senior Badminton Championship. Her journey from corporate boardrooms to the championship courts reminds us of the strength, resilience, and fire that come alive when we honor our passions. So, without further delay, let's take the inspiration from Yasmin's journey. I'm sure her experience would encourage us to rekindle that childlike determination and joy to chase our dreams and to embrace the belief that no matter where we are in our lives, there is always room to grow. Stay tuned for the episode that promises to reignite our ambitions and remind you that resilience, joy, and wonder are timeless qualities. So, without further delay, welcoming Yasmin to the show. Hi, Yasmin. How are you doing?
Hi, Gopal. Very well. Thank you. Good evening to you and everyone. And thank you so much for having me on your most amazing podcast, which I fully give credit to you for running it so beautifully every single week, or I don't know how often you do it, but
Yeah,
it's
every
fantastic.
single
So
week.
thank you so much. And for the kind
Thank you so much.
introduction.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. I mean, I think the stories of reinvention is what I talk about, and I think it's very important for us to remind ourselves that there are stories around us. If you really look at people around you, there are limitless stories or unlimited stories that we can hear and learn from. And it is with that intent is what I started this journey about 6 months ago, and it's been going well. And thanks to wonderful guests like you, who don't think twice before saying yes to coming on to this podcast and share your stories. So thank you. And before we start, any starting thoughts, comments that you have for the audience?
I think you've beautifully articulated and already set the stage for this session, Gopal. Like you rightly said, let's keep the child within us alive. And on that, happy Children's Day to everyone and the child within us. And I wanted to express my gratitude to both my children who have been the strength beneath my wings,
Yes.
and I'm really, really grateful to them. So that is all I had to say. Thank you.
Wonderful. Um, Yasmin, what you have achieved very recently, and it may seem like yesterday, but I'm sure there is a lot that you have shared already with people in different forums. But for the audience who would be listening in through this medium, this channel, and many other ways that you would probably share this again. Firstly, congratulations on winning the women's singles 45 plus title.
Thank you.
Um,
Thank you so
and
much.
if you would like to, take a trip down the memory lane, could you share with us the moment when you decided to pursue this badminton seriously? And what were some of the key milestones along the way? I know you and I have spoken about this, but it would be wonderful if you
Mhm.
could share this for the audience.
Sure, absolutely, Gopal. Thanks for asking that. And to the lovely audience, thank you for making the time to be here. I really appreciate it. Um, my journey began as a child, uh, and that was when I was 10 years ago. Born and brought up in Bangalore. My dad was on a transferable job. He was a senior executive engineer with Bestcom. And we were in Belgaum those days. So I used to play on the streets with my elder sister and the neighbors. And then my mom, who was very enterprising herself, enrolled us to a club, because I think the only way
Lovely.
to keep kids busy those days was, either do painting, or, go to a club. And I still remember the beautiful Nilgiri trees that would store a tall stand and more greenery back then. So I enrolled into the club, ended up playing a club tournament, and I won the under 10 tournament. The club encouraged me to play the state level tournament, and me and another friend were put onto a bus with another parent, and we landed in Bangalore. I won the state championship and got selected to play the sub junior nationals back then. And so that's where I think that journey started becoming like, okay, something more beyond just playing for the fun of it. uh, then the following year, my dad took me to Delhi. He traveled around the country with me, while my mom was, the biggest support, behind the scenes, along with my grandfather, who used to be the assistant commissioner those days, and my sister, uncle and relatives. So I got selected by Sports Authority of India, where only 12 kids were selected across India. It was called the National Sports Talent Contest. This was just before I got into high school. So my entire education and sports was sponsored by the government, and I'm so grateful for that. And as a part of that, Gopal, I didn't have an option to stay in Belgaum. I had to move to the
Mhm.
sports hostel for my 8th, ninth, and 10th. So I went to Chikmagalur, which was the only school called Mountain View School accredited to SAI for my coaching. I had a dedicated coach who I owe a lot of this to him, Mr. Balchandran sir. So I think that was a defining moment for me to move away from a fully pampered house to suddenly waking up. I remember, I think it was a dormitory. We were all in bunker beds, and just doing things on your own.
Mm.
That happened. I played the All India school tournaments. I played for the school. I continued to play for the state. My coach traveled with me everywhere. And I represented the state for 10 years in various sub juniors, juniors, and senior nationals. Following the 10th, which I gave on my own with my principal's support, I remember she giving me like a rose before my final board exams. missing my parents terribly. But yeah,
Oh, nice.
finished that and moved to Bangalore. Yes, and I joined Mount Carmel College, and I stayed in Kengeri in the Sai Center,
Mm,
and then moved to Kantirwa Stadium, where I pursued sports, and I had dedicated coaches, and I continued to train then with Vimal sir and Prakash Patkun sir
mm,
and many other coaches, Biju sir, who were very very instrumental in my sports journey back then. I played for my college, All India University, All India Varsity. We won the championship, and I continued to play for the state. I think at some point I felt fatigued after my parents had shifted to Bangalore, and I remember telling my parents that I think I'm done. Like I don't think I can do this anymore. I think I want to just study a little more and focus on that. And I remember my dad Gopal saying, and those days, of course, we didn't have this social media. So he
yeah.
said it used to be print media, right? So he said, just one more time, let your name come in the newspaper because it used to come along with many other players that we all used
Right.
to play as a team. Because it was such a proud moment for him to show that in the office, and I said, okay, I really pushed myself, and I'm grateful that that following year, I won double championships, and not only did it come in the newspapers, but I also got featured in Sports Star, if you remember a magazine back then. uh,
Yes.
yes, alongside Sachin Tendulkar, who was just making his debut. So
Wow.
it was super proud
Surreal.
moment for me. Right.
Yeah.
So, and then life happened. I went on to do my MBA and started working in the corporate world. I did get offers from the bank and to play for them, but I think I chose to be, doing this and restarted my competitive career post COVID. Uh, and yeah, then the journey began of again testing waters, playing the club tournament again, and friends persuading me to say, hey, why don't you come back to competitive? But Gopal, playing competitive is a different ball game altogether, and I wasn't sure if I was ready for it. Like you have two kids, you have a full-time job, you have home, you have commitments. I wasn't really sure, but I think thanks to good friends and family, I said, okay, let me test waters. And I played a ranking tournament. I did pretty well and went on to then play for the state. I won the state championship, and I won two national titles for 2 years, because I played in various events. I was runner up and the champion. Uh, and then got selected to play for India at World Championship.
Wow.
And that was a big moment for me because it really meant a lot of hard work, like
Sure.
for me to come back to that form because the game had changed so much. What I
Yeah.
played 20 years ago was not that. It was more agile, more nimble, more fast. I had to unlearn, learn, train, get fit. So I became a student all over again. So that
Mm,
meant a lot. And I think I lost my quarterfinals by like 1 point. And for
ouch.
me, it was a heartbreaking moment
Mm,
because I lost the medal for India with that 1 point. So, Gopal, the only thing I had in mind then was I need to win one medal for India, like somewhere. I have to just
yeah.
like win it. So, but I had an injury. So during the preparation for my world championship, I had an injury. My Achilles was really, really bad. I had a tear. So I went through rehab. I went through physio sessions and strength and conditioning. And I played with that at the world championship. So when I came back, I said, let me just get myself back together because I know this. I was selected to play the Asia Championship too, and the World Championship happened in September, and Asia Championship was in December.
Mm,
I worked towards it, and Gopal, I played in all the three categories, which is singles, doubles, and mixed doubles, and not just one. I won three medals for India, which is
wow.
one bronze and two silver. So that was a wow moment for me, and I said, okay, I'm done, because I wanted one medal, and here I am. I'm winning three medals. I was
Three.
super elated and thrilled. And then came the All England Championship,
Mm.
where again I was injured. The doctors had said, it's best that you don't play. But
Mm.
it was again a defining moment for me. I remember taking second, third opinion, and the doctors telling me that, because I had the new season starting in Jan,
Sure.
and All England was this year in April. So they said, look, you have three options, and one is you don't play both because your leg has to recover. Two is you play one of them. You prioritize whether you want to
Mm.
play national championship or All England. And three, you play
Mm.
both and nothing may happen. So I said, how about I play both and nothing may happen? So I took that on, and went on to play All England Championship. And winning a gold there was a defining moment for me. And I was super happy. Like, it was like a dream come true, winning a gold for your country in a foreign country, playing in 2 degrees temperature with your injury. I think
Wow.
I'm just grateful for all the support I've had, especially from my family, my husband and kids, and my coaches and my physios and everybody else in the badminton fraternity. So those are some of the things that you know I really wanted to share.
Yeah, incredible, incredible. I mean, I can only talk for how this journey would have unfolded. It was like watching a movie for me, just as the last 12, 13
Thank
minutes
you.
that you were speaking. And but I'm sure the feeling that you were going through the journey. One is, of course, apart from the whole childhood journey of sports that you had, which was predominantly driven by how we get pushed into some of these things by our parents. When it comes to doing it again later, much later in your case as well, it's not very easy. And we, I mean, as you rightly said, you had a fully loaded full-time corporate job, and and a very senior level at that. You had responsibilities towards your family, your daughters, um, and of course, COVID was a blessing in many ways, which allowed you to restart. But walk us through how that journey of your mental resilience unfolded, from living in a denial mode of okay, that's a chapter that's done. Like, I don't want to go back to that, to okay, let me give it a try. And I'm sure there were enough and more challenges that kept, I mean, your injury itself was a big challenge, but other than that, how did you overcome all of this? I mean, in terms of maybe an imposter syndrome or a self-doubt, or probably injury of it all bogs down a person who's living through a full corporate role, traveling to office through traffics in a city like Bangalore, perhaps. How did you manage that? Is something that I would like to ask.
Oh yeah, I can talk lots about it, Gopal, but I think it's a great question, and you've got me back into the memory lane. It wasn't easy, when I was deciding whether I should pursue or not. I think the first thing, like you said, self-doubt. You know, can I do it? And the question for me was, should I do it? Like, I've done
Mm,
enough in life. Like,
mm,
really, why should I do it? I think
mm.
questioning, myself there. How do I, balance with family, with work? And, it's not like work is just 9 to 5. You're heading HR for a multinational.
Yeah,
It's 24/7 sometimes, because, just post COVID, we were all burnt out.
absolutely.
How do you manage time? Like you said, traffic. So I think there's also a blessing where my organization was, working from home. So kind of that helped me a lot, and I'm very grateful, to that. The next thing is people saying, okay, at a certain age, do you really want to play? Like, why do you have to play, right? But
Mm,
it's not that who's going to allow me, like, there's a famous quote, but who'll stop me? I think I
mm,
had my family support. But like you said, I think it begins with mental preparation. And for me, it was
Correct.
that. It was having clarity of what I'm doing, why I'm doing, and wrapping my head around that. Because I know if I make this decision, it'll come with some sacrifices, which I might
Yes.
regret at a later point because my kids are still like 12 and 9, or they will soon be 12 and 9. Um, but I think it was
And they
about
were
me
much
having
younger
that.
when you started this.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think it's just preparation, planning and injury.
Mm.
I think
Mm.
I had a lot of injuries to deal with,
Mm.
my
Mm.
Achilles tore, which means I not only get fit, but I also have to recover from my injury. And at a certain age, there's a gap between what your mind thinks and your body behaves. Like you might think
Mm.
I'm going to take that shot, but your body may not move as much. So how do you
Right.
really, prepare and get it all? So I think this whole, physical, mental, and emotional challenges, I felt that I could talk about it, and I had a lot of people supporting me. And I think I pushed myself to say, because I was clear of what I wanted to do, to just go after that.
Mm.
And having my circle, my inner circle around me, my home team around me, like my physios knew exactly what was the load on my leg, both my legs, because there was a time, Gopal, I couldn't get off the bed in the morning, and without taking care of it for 5 minutes, and then I could get walk.
Wow.
I couldn't even like walk. I couldn't wear certain shoes. I had to wear only a particular kind of shoes. After playing, I had to ice it. I had to take medicines. I had to do even hot therapy. So it was a whole lot of work, and playing in this, for example, all England -2 degrees. It was a lot of mental resilience, and with a
Yeah.
full-time job, how am I going to be available? Because we had just gone through an acquisition, and we were also kind of, whatever comes with an acquisition, in terms of
Mm.
reorgs, and we were doing a global implementation of a HR system. So you can imagine the
Mm.
number of calls that we
Yeah.
had. My kids' schedules, they both play sports too. My son plays for the state team, and he travels really, really far to the Patpone Dravid Academy for training. So,
Mm.
how do you do all that? But I don't think I could have done it alone without the support of my family, especially, I mean, my parents, my husband, and both my kids, and the home team. I think I really, really owe it to them.
Yay.
Yes.
Um, indeed, right?
Yeah,
I mean, family plays a big role, and we'll get to that in a bit. But before we get to the
sure.
family part, there are two or three things that I really want to reflect on a little more deeper than what you just said around the fact that there was injury, there was the self doubt aspect, and a lot of preparation that went into was the mental toughness. Now, there are a lot of people that may be listening to this podcast now or later who may be struggling with that particular element. It's very difficult for them to start or perhaps restart the journey towards doing something which they loved doing sometime in the past but stopped it for various reasons. But it takes a lot of courage, determination, grit, if I were to call, to be able to restart that journey. Walk us through what was that looking like for you. I mean, what were the inner dialogues, inner voices that you would tell yourselves to be able to make that happen? Because that's the journey that's very personal to you, that you can probably share. And but I'm sure when we hear this, it may really impact and help a lot of people who may be struggling with that particular element.
Sure. I completely agree with you, Gopal, that I think mental strength plays a very significant role. And I think if you win that mental battle, then you won everything else. Like
Yeah.
everything else just unfolds, right? And that's why even when we talk to kids or anybody, we say, come on, be strong. Like take it in stride.
Mm.
Like don't mull over it. Don't overthink. That's the reason we say that. I think for
Mm.
me, it was about, so I write a lot. I write a
Mm.
lot, and I feel a great connection when I write my journal, like I do my journaling. So when I started to play, for example, I knew where my where I had to change in the game because I had tested
Mm.
waters. And if I have to get to a particular point, I would need to get there. And to get there means I had to invest myself in training, in getting
Yeah.
fitter, in making time out. Now, how do I get that time out in already such a packed schedule?
Yeah.
Um, and more importantly, Gopal, I was doing it maybe for myself. Like, I don't think it was somebody saying, hey, you have to do these five things. Like,
Yeah.
today maybe a lot of parents would say, hey, I want my child to be A, or B, or C. But I think it was just my own willingness to get to that point. So when I write down, when I started my training sessions, I would write what I learned and I would try to implement it the next day. I would write that
Mm.
also. And I would also say, why didn't I use that particular stroke, in the game?
Mm.
What held me back? Like, what
Mm.
was it? And the following day when I played, I reminded myself, what did you write in the book? You said you would take that step of overcoming that, which means it's muscle memory that you need to get over and just take that step. And
Wow.
nothing is going to happen, right? I think so. That way, I pushed myself, but I also
Mm.
had like my I would talk a lot to my husband, who I would say that, what if I fail? What if it's a disaster? Like I already
Yeah.
have a certain standing. What if it's going to be terrible? And he would say,
Yeah.
look, coming this far itself is great. It's fine. It's okay to lose it. In fact, my kids also would say, that Mama, you tell us that it's okay. So just go ahead and play like you're
Yeah.
playing, in practice. I think these things really, really helped me get to that point of saying, okay. I think in my head, in myself, Gopal, I was holding on to that goal that I wanted to get to, saying, reminding myself, okay, this is all part of that. So you have to go through this and you will get there. It's just
Yeah.
another few months. You just have to manage 4 days away from home for this tournament. You just have to do ABC. So I think just continuously talking and reminding myself of where I need to get to is possibly what made me stay in that zone of completing that and moving forward.
Wonderful. And I really liked what you said when you said you write a lot. And I think journaling has time and again proven to be one of the most powerful tools.
Yeah,
We don't realize how much powerful writing is until
yeah,
we start doing that.
absolutely.
Because as they say, writing is twice reading, right? You
Absolutely.
kind of process it and you kind of repeat it. So thank
Absolutely.
you for sharing. I really appreciate that. Now,
Sure.
there's one more element that you mentioned about injuries, and as
Mhm.
we live in this world where there is already a lot of lifestyle related challenges that we all struggle with, um, and you had a bad injury at that. Uh, Perhaps it would be helpful for listeners to understand, who may want to get back to the sports again or start on their wellness fitness journey. How easy or how difficult is it to get back to being physically fit? And what was your journey like? Like routine, diet, perhaps, maybe anything
Mhm.
that you would like to share?
Sure, absolutely. Maybe I'll break this in two parts. One is talk about my own maybe routine and training regime, and maybe secondly what people can do, and maybe they could definitely pick cues, and I could learn from them too if they have some
Yeah,
sharing.
sure.
Happy to hear from them. So for me, finding time was the most important thing. Like I was
Mm.
sharing. So my planning for the following week would start the weekend. I would look up
Mm.
my calendar and see what do I have in store for the next week. And this would be juggling between both my husband and me. We were a great team together, and we still are. Is to see what's non-negotiable, what are the must-dos. That includes even the kids' schedules, which means some match that they're playing or all of that. As we get into the week, things change. So we plan every single day. So we plan the previous day for the next day, and we try and stay with that. But as life has it, it throws things at you the last minute. So
Yeah,
I
the
think
rains in Bangalore.
rains in Bangalore. So it is, yeah, absolutely. It's about prioritizing, right?
Yeah.
Like prioritizing each day and going with that. So my day would would begin like at 5:30 or 5:45 every morning. And, once the kids go to school, they leave by 6:30 in the morning. And I then head for my training session for an hour and a half. If I have calls, early morning calls, say at 7:30 or 8, then I would skip it or maybe go at 5 in the morning for my training. So
Hmm.
I'm
Hmm.
done and I'm back in time for my calls and the whole routine starts. And then work day starts, I finish all of that. My kids, I pick them up, or my husband does at 3:30 from back from the bus stop. And that evening time is non-negotiable for me. Like I would,
Hmm.
how the day went and, what happened, because not all of us meet for every dinner, but tea time is when we all meet.
Yeah.
And yeah, there are times I've gone back to play in the evening at 6:30 for an hour. That's during competition, but otherwise regularly I don't, because I have kids homework and things like that, and then I have my calls. Um, and I had my physio sessions, so I had to rehab. So I was trying to figure time out because they close by 5. So I would take time during lunchtime. So I would go between one. If it was a 1 hour session, I negotiated for 45 minutes and just dash in and dash out. So I think it's negotiating all the time, and I'm so
Yeah.
grateful for my coaches and physios that they allowed me that flexibility to say, okay, can we settle for 20 minutes? And they would say, listen, your recovery is not enough. Like you got to do more. Like who works like this,
Yeah.
But I think for me, it was trying to say, hey, it's just another important tournament and I'm giving it everything. So,
Hmm.
let me do
Hmm.
that. But I've also been flexible, Gopal. Like my coaches
Sure.
would call me at 1 p.m. on Sunday afternoon when it could be a possibly family lunch, but I would go for my
Hmm.
training.
Hmm.
It would be 10 p.m. straight from the airport. I'm coming from somewhere, and I would straight go to the badminton court at 10 o'clock. So I think it's just about flexibility, and
Yeah.
that's how I've kind of worked on. So I think
Hmm.
for anyone to start their journey, I think I would first say understand the why. Like, why do you want to do that? Are you doing it for
Hmm.
yourself or what it is? And of course, you have to take into consideration where your body is, where you are physically, emotionally, mentally. Are you in the right
Yeah.
frame of mind? You might not be, but what does it take for you to get there? And wrap yourself around that. Seize the day. If you've been waiting to start, just start. Just do it like Nike says.
Just do it.
Just do it. Just don't start. And there will be naysayers. Ignore them.
Yeah.
Just move on. But take care of yourself. Like
Hmm.
don't go all out. Take small steps. And I think
Yeah.
you will definitely win in that. So
Hmm.
just do it. I think, and what's important for it to be successful is to show up and being
Hmm.
consistent. There are days you'll
Hmm.
say, oh, I don't think I want to do, but I think that is the moment when you remind yourself and say,
Yes.
I have to continue. Like wake up
Yeah.
and show up. I think that's what's important. So yeah,
Lovely. Lovely. Thank you for sharing this. Um,
absolutely.
you play, your kids play. Not sure about whether your husband plays as well, but you
He
surely are a
does.
playful family.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about them now. Like, how is it that you manage to, keep the sanity? If I were to ask you through all the schedules that you have for yourself and your family as well, and all the tournaments that you played and you're going to continue to play are all not just like you're taking a cab and reaching the place.
Yeah.
These are all international.
Right.
These are all international tournaments. I know you shared about prioritizing, planning, and scheduling, which is a very integral element of how things work. But I'm sure at some point of time there would have been a conversation about why does it matter? Why is it important for all of us? Um,
Mhm.
any thoughts, or how is it that it's effortless for all of you to do this? Any tips that you would like to give to others who are listening in?
Thanks, Gopal, for being very kind. I think it's just, I don't think one day we decided that, hey, everybody needs to get into sports. I think it evolved over a period of time.
Mm, mm,
For example, my son, he started playing when he was much younger, maybe 6 or 7 years old,
Mm,
football, and we didn't have any pressure on them to say, hey, you need to play a particular sport. I think they've played all sports, and now
mm,
he loves to play football. And as a parent, as every parent, and everyone who's on the show as well, would love to give the best to their kids. So we found the best coach
sure.
and the academy. So we signed up for that. Likewise, my daughter, she plays for the school, football, and she was also going to an academy, but she wanted to do gymnastics in between, uh,
Mm,
you know, and or swimming. We signed up for that. My husband is a great swimmer. He plays football and tennis. So I think we talk a lot about it. We watch, we go for all most of. Uh, um, I mean, I don't go for all matches, but my son and husband go for all the matches in Bangalore for football. I went for a few, but there's always conversations about this. Even the extended family. I think we talk a lot about it, and grateful for being born in a progressive family. So I think it's about what they like to do and they want to
sure.
do. So I think that one conversation we have at home is, if you like to do it, do it.
Mm,
And if you signed up for it, these are the things that come, which means you
yeah.
have to go every day. You have to get
Mm,
your things in
mm,
place.
mm,
It's
mm.
discipline, determination, and dedication. I think that's what it is. So
The
I
three
think
Ds.
yeah, 3Ds. And that's what Prakasa would say. And I think I love that. So I think it's how we each, all of us, see each other and say, oh wow, this is great. Like recently my son won the state championship. They won the nationals, for
Oh,
football. He was a goalkeeper. uh, it's just going through that motion as a parent and saying, this is great, but now we need to work hard. uh, now we need to do things. Now I've played, I need to work hard. I think it's okay. I think there's no
mm.
pressure of saying you have to perform or you have to do this. It's okay if you lose. It's okay if you just play the sport in the spirit of the sport, because I think it teaches you great, great, great life skills. Um, so that's what makes all of us.
Wonderful. And that kind of allows me to transition into that very aspect of your life. Managing a corporate career, which is not a role which comes with very less responsibilities. You have been a head of HR of an organization, and you have had your own share of growth path, right? I mean, it's taken a while. You've done wonderful roles in large multinational organizations. uh, Perhaps it may not, I mean, the sports aspect may not have had an impact in your early stages of your career, but it certainly has had in the last 6 7 years, for sure. um, how's the balance, like how does that work out in terms of, did you ever feel that, oh, I'm doing all of this, but it is impacting the other side of the world, which is the corporate career, or the vice versa? I remember for a fact that when we spoke last, when we met, you said that there was a day when you were in the tournament, and after you finished it, you had to rush back and take the call,
Yes.
which was very important as well. So I know the
Yes.
the whole struggle that you had to go through. But let's talk about that. I mean, it's not easy to do. I mean, be good at all things that you do. Um, and
Absolutely.
and we live in a world where people keep talking about aspirational work life balances. So how did you manage that?
Absolutely. Yeah. And yeah, thanks for asking that, Gopal. It's not easy. It's not easy at all. Um, I am sure many of this on this call are also kind of, going through just, balancing. But I don't know if there's something called balance. I think it's about really
Mm,
prioritizing what
mm,
comes. How do you address what comes? So for me, the non-negotiables were definitely first, the family, the kids' schedules,
mm,
the work
mm,
schedules, and I think everything else I put around that, because
mm,
badminton was my passion. I wanted to do it, but it was not something that I would just, uh, you know, uh, die for. Or, when I say that, I mean, I would do it. I would do it definitely, but I think I wouldn't negotiate my work or, the other demanding schedules that were there. So I think between, so each day we've got to make decisions, like I was sharing the calendars, what are some of the non-negotiable, how I need to prepare for certain, calls, work
Hmm.
calls. How do I do it? So I did end up working pretty late hours. I did end up
Hmm.
maybe sleeping very less, and I know that's not a very good thing. And I was trying to. I think I was always on the run, on the move. But I think it's about talking about it. So my family, like my parents, my husband, kids, my physios, my coaches knew 2 days in a week are non-negotiable, right?
Hmm.
So I try to organize my day. Like I would do my one-on-one meetings on a particular day. Like I would do all US calls on a particular day, and also work with them to see, okay, some are non-negotiable at their end. So once that is kind of set, because those are recurring meetings, then I would try to fit in, the other things. There are times when, and I was talking about this global implementation and
Yeah.
other demanding meetings that we had at work. Like I would be driving my kids back from their class and I would do the calls on the way. The
Hmm.
school calls us for something like a parent teacher meeting or anything like that. My laptop was always with me. And if you talk to any
Hmm.
of my badminton fraternity, they would always say, she's always with her laptop. It's not because I'm a workaholic. I think it's just that I want to show up. Like, I'm committed to both sides and I'm
Yeah.
trying my best to figure both worlds out. And I remember, this is funny, but we were on a train in London. We had just landed in London for the All England Championship, and we were getting to the hotel. So we had to change
Hmm.
trains. And my partner was with me, and my laptop was almost dying. And I had a call with my boss who's in the US. I was in the moving train and my Wi-Fi wasn't working. So, he was kind enough to kind of share his Wi-Fi, the charger. And I remember we getting off at a train station in the middle of, like, that was not our stop, but got off, took the call, then continued our journey, back to
Wow.
Hatfield. And I think there are some of these things that I've crossed immigration and I've said, oh my God, I have a Thursday meeting, which I'd said was non-negotiable. And even before I went to immigration, I just got off the flight. And just as the flight
Hmm.
was landed, I just used the flight's Wi-Fi, got in and got there. And, I think it's having access to these gadgets which make you work. And I
Yeah.
think I was making full use of it. Uh, but of course, there are things you end up sacrificing to, Gopal. Like I remember, I've missed my son's birthday, and I was so guilty when I was playing the Asia Championship. And but he was like, I felt he had just grown up. He said, "Mama, you celebrated my birthday for 10 years. It's okay if one year you're
Hmm.
not there, and in the future we will miss each other's birthdays." I was like, "That's too much for a
Wow.
10-year-old to tell me," But I thought
True.
that was so sure. So I think things like this, all England, I had Eid. I traveled on the day
Yes.
prior to Eid. But my daughter, she said, don't worry, it's okay, we'll get onto a call. We went and put the mehendi. We did, some of the things my sister helped with buying the dress and all. So I think there are things that we overthink, but I think there's an easier and simpler way of, doing it. So I feel it's this whole balance. Like when I was playing World Championship, and I can talk a little more about this. I did calls at 11 p.m. Because my boss was in the US.
Hmm.
In London, I did it at 6 a.m. because my team was in India. And
Hmm.
they all understood that too. And of course, there are times when they've said, "Hey, I think we can skip this call," and it's okay, and things like that. So I think, and the call that you said, that was a board meeting. Actually, I played the nationals, finals, and then I just scooted from there. Before anybody could grab me for congratulating or whatever. And I just showed up for the meeting and then back again. I think it's a lot of fun as well. Yeah.
Yeah,
So.
it is. But yeah, incredible. I mean, I think one word that emerges as you speak and share some of these is commitment. I mean, I think you were
Thank you.
committed to both sports as well as your career so much that you ensure that that happened, and of course, family too. So, thank you
Yes.
for sharing that. Right
Thank you.
now, you know, as they say, you should play one sport in life, whatever that sport is, because
Mhm.
sports teaches a lot of things, and one
Yes.
can learn a lot from sports and brings in enormous amount of clarity and perhaps even strategy to do your corporate role well. Anything that you
Hmm.
would like to share where your badminton career has helped you in your corporate role?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, Gopal. It's it's priceless. I think the lessons that you learn, as a child, when you join, like if I go back to my hostel days, and I would be like, I remember my coach looking at his watch and saying it's 6:05, like you're coming 5 minutes late, right? So you run 2 rounds of the ground,
Mm,
and I would be like, oh gosh, like seriously, like, but I think
mm,
that's the discipline that you're taught, right? Which you
yeah,
realize later, like time management, you respect somebody
yeah,
else's time, then you start
yeah.
coming at 5:55, so I think that's a
Mm,
transition that I've seen. So if you look at it where it's helped me, life is like a badminton game, you know you can be in your best form,
beautiful.
but that may not be your day. You may do the best things, but the umpire may call it wrong. It's okay. You move on, but to be independent. Early on sports hostels, I've learned to be independent,
Yeah.
resilient, how to handle things and keep going. I mean, there's so much that keeps getting pushed at you, expected, unexpected. You have to sign up, and sometimes you have to. I used to tell this to my team, cut the emotion out of a transaction, because then you get bogged down by just so much emotion, right? And
Mm,
not take anything personally. Strategic, like you rightly said, absolutely. Like, before I played any competitive matches, I would watch the videos of, the opponents. We would discuss, like my partner and me would discuss, like, how do we do and how do we play? Being a finisher, which means high on accountability and ownership. Whatever you do, Gopal, for me personally, do it well and
mm,
complete it. Teamwork, collaboration. When you play doubles and mixed doubles, you don't keep talking on the court like, okay, I'm, going to drop, you move. You understand and you move. That's how it
right.
happens even in life. Integrity, sportsmanship. I remember there was a match that Victor Axelsen was playing, and he there was a foul from his end, and the umpire gave the point in his favor.
Mm,
uh, he continued to play, and he won a point, but he deliberately missed the next point, and he gave it back to his opponent,
wow.
which talks about integrity. Likewise, I was playing a match, and the shuttle, it was in, but the umpire called it out, and I told my partner, hey, it's in. And I think my partner was like, hey, it's okay, we won a point. And and I was like, no, but I think it's in, so they get the point. So giving it back to them when nobody's looking, right? Doing the right thing when nobody's looking, that's
Yeah.
integrity.
Yeah.
To be fair, you learn to be fair in life, to
Mm,
see the brighter side of things, being passionate about what you're doing. And of course, the other things like commitment, communication, leadership, camaraderie, being
mm,
solution oriented,
mm,
and end of all, being graceful and respectful,
mm,
humanity and humility. And I
mm.
think eventually hard work, there is no substitute for hard work, and hard work always pays off. And I think that's what it is.
Wonderful. Yasmin, I remember when we met first time was in 2020, just before COVID,
Mhm,
and it was at one of the
mhm.
conferences. Um, Speaks volumes about the commitment that you have for women and women-related initiatives as well. To all the women who are listening and who may be listening, who may fall short for various reasons due to various factors uh, of their ability to pursue their dreams, what piece of advice would you give them? What should they do to continue chasing their dreams?
I would just say continue to dream. Don't wait for another day. Do
Mm,
it now, like I said before. But do it with all heart. Like sign up
mm,
for it. uh, do it for yourself. And going back to clarity, why are you doing it? How will this impact your family, your lifestyle, your diet, your everything else around it? Talk to a
mm,
friend. Once you wrap your head around it, I think you just keep moving forward. um,
mm,
Women tend to take on a lot on themselves.
mm,
I think it's good to try to maybe, I'm sure some of us have tried delegating it. But sometimes I think there's this famous saying I used to always say, let perfection not be the enemy of good. Like good is good
Hmm.
enough, and I think we should be okay with um, something not being kept in a certain way, but it's okay if it's just there. I think I've also learned to get
Yeah.
away from some of those. In all of that, there'll be naysayers. Ignore them. Remind yourself, why are you here on this journey? Because you're all so capable. Just seize the day, my friend, and remember to take good care of yourself too. And I'm sure you'll shine.
Wonderful. We'll quickly transition to rapid fire questions. I hadn't shared that there will be one section on this.
Okay. Oh my God.
So, but we'll keep
Okay.
it very quick and rapid in
Sure.
many ways. So,
Sure.
if not badminton, which sport would you have played?
Either basketball or lawn tennis.
Okay. One word that best describes you on the court.
Resilient.
Lovely. Your go-to meal before a big match.
It could be either sweet potato or for depending on the country I'm in, and or bread butter jam sandwich, which is also there in my bag, and I keep a protein bar, which I just take a bite of during the match.
Lovely. Bread butter jam goes everywhere.
Yes.
A sports personality who has inspired you the most. I think I know the answer.
Yeah, I think it's Steffi Graf, but of course Prakash Parkul sir also. But in my earlier days, I think I used to love how she played tennis, and I would go on my art terrace and try to play like her. But of course, Prakash sir, and things he said, like you've not come this far to lose. Like I think I remember
Mm,
that even when I was playing the All England Championship, though he said it to Lakshya, I think I was more like, okay, I got to give it my 100%. Like just play like this is your best. Yeah.
powerful, powerful. I mean, I think often we forget that part of um, we are not here or we haven't come this far to lose. Incredible.
Yes. Yes.
One habit that you believe has made a better athlete, you a better athlete.
I think it's consistent reflection since I journal what I learn. In fact, I do that even at work, like, when things happen at work. But athlete, yes, like I was sharing during my training, I had that book. I had this visualization exercise I would do. I had my affirmations. I would write. And I'd read it when I felt that moment of vulnerability or giving up and just quickly
Mm,
bounce back. And, because I think sports also teaches you how to bounce back. So I think this is something that helped what came in between what I played and what I was supposed to play and how I overcame that.
wonderful. Our friend Vijay Raghavan Pisharadi says, Yasmeen, the super HR lady we all know.
Thank you so much, Vijay. Really appreciate it.
Wonderful. A book or a movie that has motivated you in your career.
I've read several books, and I think I've taken, something from some book.
Mm.
But I think off late, the movies are Inside Out, and
Mhm.
it has part one, part two, both very good. Part two, I think, was really, really excellent. And of late, most recently was Chantu Champion because I think it resonated with my story.
Right.
Where it says like you are your own challenge, like there's nobody else. Actually, it's just you, and which goes back to
Mm.
again, the mental mindset, the mindset that we're
Mm.
talking about, the mental toughness. So once you overcome um, that person, I think you're a winner.
So true. So true. I think I'd once read a quote which says, "The only person between who you are and who you want to be is you."
Absolutely,
Um,
so true.
and yeah, and I think we need to be mindful of that fact and try to get, you know, out of our own ways.
Yes.
Waiting to interview you tomorrow, Yasmeen. Gopal, please come. Kavita says.
Hi, Kavita. Sure.
Wonderful, wonderful. Um, the last one, your favorite way to relax after a tough tournament.
Come back home to my family. Have some good food, talk to them about everything that happened in the tournament. And of course, I try to pick something for them from there. Take a day or two off. Maybe, if time permits, go for a nice sports massage. And like I said, home food, maybe a good movie. Sleep very, very well, and back on the court the next day.
Lovely. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Yasmeen, for joining us today. Any parting thoughts you have for the audience listening in?
Thank you so much, first of all, Gopal. It was totally incredible, and thanks everyone for joining in. I would just say, be your best, do your best, and just seize the day, my friend. There is no tomorrow. Today is a gift, and that's why it's called the present. So make the most of it,
Lovely.
and wish
Lovely.
everybody all the best. Thank you. Thank you for having me,
Thank you.
Gopal.
Thank you so much. So, guests, friends, thank you for joining us today. I think you might have heard Yasmeen share her wonderful, incredible journey and insights of how she's balanced career with passion and mindset of a champion. Um, to whoever is going to listen to this later, I hope Yasmin's story and our chat about resilience, pursuing dreams, and integrating joy into our lives has sparked some thoughts about your own journey and what might be the next for you. Yasmin reminded us that keeping up the spirit of our inner child alive is key, whether it's staying curious, embracing challenges, or not being afraid to try something new, which I think is something that she's done so well. It's not about achieving success, but living life fully, nurturing our passions, and finding fulfillment along the way that is most important. As we navigate the world of work that demands ability to adapt, courage, the stories like these show us that we can find a powerful balance between work, play, and purpose. Whether you're contemplating a new career move, reigniting an old passion, building connections, or whatever, remember the joyful, resilient spirit can be your greatest asset. I can't wait to share more stories and practical insights in future episodes. Until then, stay curious, stay motivated, and keep tuning into Career Shifts podcast on LinkedIn, YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. See you soon. Keep moving forward, keep evolving, and keep the spark alive. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you, Gopal. Thank you, everyone. And love all play. Thank you.
Lovely.